Should the Utah Jazz trade Walker Kessler, and what would they be looking for in return now that they've decided not to come to terms on a new contract with him? But first, injuries crushing the NBA already. I can't believe right as we went to hit record, we got even more injuries hitting the league. We'll get into those. Plus, Mark Williams vows revenge for the trade last season that got rescinded. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe. You've heard us say it before, but 70% of you're not subscribed. Let's fix that. Hit that subscribe button. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, are you healthy? Because it doesn't seem like anybody else is healthy at this point.
Actually, no. Actually, no. I'm keeping a buck with you, man. Actually, no. I've got a shoulder impingement, a couple of things going on.
Oh,
but,
those are the worst.
Yeah, I lift a little bit too heavy. But I'm not a professional athlete, though, so I'm certainly not anything like them. So
I have dealt with those, and they're the worst because the only thing you can do is rest, and that's it. I
can't even get a full rotation. It hurts.
Oh, man. All right. So see, everybody's hurt at this point. The news out of Portland, Scoot Henderson, a left hamstring tear during an off-season workout, will be sidelined 4 to 8 weeks. So we're so close to the start of the NBA season, and thank God that we are close to the start of the NBA season. Excited for basketball to be back. But now these injuries mean these guys are not going to be available to start the season. So Scoot Henderson will miss the start of the season for the Portland Trailblazers. Portland looking to push for the playoffs this year. That's a tough blow, losing an important part of your backcourt there with Scoot Henderson now out 4 to 8 weeks, and a hamstring tear. We know how hamstrings can be tricky and recur and all of that.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign. I mean, we may not see Scoot Henderson until December. That's really what that timeline could potentially mean.
Yeah, that's certainly not what you wanted to see. I was really hoping for them, and it obviously could still wind up being this. They've got so many young guys in this roster, and I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it appears like they may want to be competitive a season from now. So they're going to need some of these young guys like a Scoot to really take that next step forward and really get the chance to see what they have with these guys and evaluate if they're going to keep them as part of this next phase. And obviously Scoot was a high draft pick a couple years ago, and so they've got a lot invested in him. So you don't want to see these types of injuries on anybody, but it's certainly for Portland, for one of your top draft picks and guys you're trying to develop.
And remember, this is coming on the heels of yesterday's news about Jared McCain potentially being out for the start of the season with the thumb issue.
There's even more.
There's even more. Yeah, we had Tyler Hero's out for the Miami Heat. We had Fred VanVleet. Now take a look at this. Look at Memphis. Memphis had their season deleted a couple of seasons ago due to injuries. They had the longest injury report I have ever seen. It literally went off the page when they handed it to us in the press room. But take a look at this.
What about Dallas last year too, though?
Dallas was crushed by injuries. The Pelicans last year. Oh my God, so many injuries. Skinny Zion, please stay healthy. But look at this update from Memphis. Brandon Clark has healed for a PCL strain. However, he has experienced right knee synovitis, which will require an arthroscopic procedure to address. The buzz out there is already somewhere in the 6-week range, if not maybe more for that. Having not heard of this before, because I'm not a doctor or anything like that, we did look it up. It's inflammation in the knee that he's experiencing, and that's something that he's going to have to get addressed. He is typically the backup center for the Grizzlies, but guess what? The starting center, this was news over the summer, if maybe you missed it, he's also out. Zach Edey underwent surgery to address laxity in his left ankle on June 7th, has been cleared to begin ramping up basketball activities. We're expected to return to play in 6 to 9 weeks. So once again, we're talking about missing the beginning of the regular season. And in case you didn't hear about this, July 2nd, the day after signing his extension with the Grizzlies, or coming to terms on his extension with the Grizz, Jaren Jackson underwent surgery to repair a turf toe injury, again, suffered in training, to his right foot, cleared to begin ramping up basketball activities, expected to return to play in 4 to 6 weeks. So once again, we're talking about missing the beginning of the regular season. Donnie, those are the three probably most important bigs on the Grizzlies roster. Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey, Brandon Clark. It looks like all of them will not be available at the opening of the season.
I mean, so this is the problem with this for any team, but especially the Grizzlies, who are in a competitive Western Conference. I I'm not going to jump the gun and say that they're not going to be good, not going to be able to be good by the end of the season, any of that. But it makes me wonder if they're not just better off punting the season to a degree. Obviously, that's kind of hard to do. Players, coaches don't want to do that, but they have their own draft pick this year. And they're going to be without a lot of their starting bigs for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. That's kind of rough, right? So I do wonder about that, but they obviously have other options and other things that they could try to do. I just think that in the competitive West, that may be a bit of a death sentence if you get off to a slow start.
I think that could be a pivot they make more mid-season if they really like. Sure. It'll be something.
A lot of teams
hold it together initially, and then if it's pretty clear you don't have it, then you make that shift. I'll tell you what though. I'll make my prediction for when Jaren Jackson Jr. will return to play. He will play on Halloween. He will return to play on Halloween, October 31st.
The Lakers playing?
They play the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah, well,
return to play. He will be Kevin Nash in the wheelchair, and he will be healthy to play that game.
Fans have been saying that happens a lot, and I'm sure that happens to fans of other teams quite a bit too. Yeah. But I just, it's funny because there was a report last year that the Lakers actually looked into it themselves, and that was extremely common. It was legitimately a thing where the Lakers like brass looked into this too, and it was true that players often return against the Lakers specifically at a higher rate. That was what I believe JJ said, at a higher rate than they do against other teams. So there's actually a good chance he's back by Halloween there. That's not too bad though. That's only a month from now.
Yeah, I mean that's not too bad. So again, we want to see everybody healthy, but that is rough for Memphis, rough for Portland. Now, what about the Utah Jazz? Should they trade Walker Kessler, and what should they be looking for in return? Let's get to that next. Over on Sleeper, I'm taking Kyler Murray to get more than 0.5 passing yards because, of course, thank you for the free square there. Malik Neighbors, I'm going to say new quarterback Jackson Dart hyper targets him and he finds his way into the end zone. And Dak Prescott, tough sledding in Dallas. No CD Lamb, 242.5 passing yards. I'm going to say Dak does not get there. If you agree with me, you disagree, turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. Use promo code Bulletin, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, let's talk about Walker Kessler, the Utah Jazz. The word from the other day that they would not come to terms on a new deal for him, which means he will hit restricted free agency next summer. Walker Kessler turned in a strong season this last year and was in trade rumors, particularly summer before last. He was in a number of trade rumors. There were some questions about how the Jazz were going to use him. Was he going to be a starter or not? He clearly wanted to be, but it does appear that they are going to settle in with him as a long-term starter. But if they're not willing to do a new deal right now, are the Jazz just looking to take advantage of restricted free agency, or does this make Walker Kessler once again an available trade target, and what should they get in return? Donnie, there is that rumor out there linking the Lakers. I can't really say that how valid that is, that the Jazz would want Austin Reeves and 2 first-round picks. It's not like it came from Shams or something like that where we can say, okay, this is probably legit. Because to me, that does it make sense that Danny Ainge would want kind of a crazy return like that? Yeah, maybe. But that's like we had heard Dalton Connect and a couple of picks or something like that last year. So to suddenly make that jump, that doesn't necessarily have the ring of truth to it. But the bottom line, should the Jazz look to move Walker Kessler at this point rather than be the team to pay him on his next contract next summer?
Well, they've got a few guys on this roster that they want to give minutes to, see who they are, what they can develop with them, like a guy like Filipowski. Now, we just spent, I believe, quite a bit of time in a video yesterday or the day before, waxing poetic, if you will, about Kessler and all the things that he could do. He's such a great player, young player. I think he could be their long-term center, and he's actually probably going to be really good alongside Bailey. I want to see that combination out there. They may have something here, but I do think that there is some interest around the league for Walker, and maybe if they get a good deal, that would be something that they could do. But I don't know that they're trying to trade him. There was a report previously, somebody pointed this out in that video, that they probably were not going to reach an extension because they wanted to see how the market developed and all that stuff for the following season. As we saw this offseason, and we're still in the middle of it, these guys are getting squeezed, and so they kind of want to see if they can maybe mess around and do the same thing with Kessler to put it another way.
He'd still be a restricted free agent
for sure. They
don't have to lose him if they don't want to.
There's no real rush on it. They could probably reach a more team friendly number with him at some point. So I think, like I said, he's a guy that they can really develop and build around, even if they have some other bigs on this roster they want to get minutes for.
In other words, the Utah Jazz are looking at the situation that the Warriors are in with Jonathan Kuminga, the Sixers are in with Quentin Grimes, and they're saying,
want a piece of that.
They sign us up. Give us some of that.
They want it, man.
You know what, though? It's not a bad spot for teams to be in and with restricted free agency, and they're not wrong if they're going to try to capitalize on that. Teams are so scared of giving offer sheets to restricted free agents.
I was just about to say that. When's the last time you saw a big offer sheet? Teams don't do that anymore.
No, I mean, it was years ago when the Nets messed around and started sending big offer sheets to teams' RFAs just to mess with them. We haven't seen that happen in a long time, where an RFA has received a legit offer. I mean, ironically, we talk about it with the Lakers, but DeAndre Ayton was signing with the Pacers back in the day, and that's actually the contract he got bought out of here with Portland. But that was the other point that I wanted to get to, was we look at the Portland situation, right, where Donovan Clingan was waiting in the wings, so it made sense to move on from DeAndre Ayton and just funnel all those minutes to him. Kyle Filipowski for the Jazz just won Summer League MVP. Was great. He looked phenomenal last season. Played 72 games, played 21 minutes per night. Could this just be the Jazz saying, well, maybe Kyle Filipowski is just that guy for us before we commit long-term to Walker Kessler? What if Kyle Filipowski is that guy? Why don't we give him a little bit more time to see what that looks like? Because we don't want to go lock in long-term to Walker Kessler and then have it turn out that it really needs to be Kyle Filipowski as our guy. Although I think you could have them together. I think you could have them both.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to come up with an added benefit here for the Jazz to waiting.
Yeah, they've got some fun players on their roster too, like Sensabaugh. They've got some other guys that I really like on this roster.
They're not going to be good, but I'm not watch that. There's some interesting players on this roster for sure.
You know what? Like, I think they have a good chance to be good in like 3 years. 2-3 years, I think they have a good chance to be good.
They're 2 years away from being 2 years away.
No, I won't say that, because they've got some good young talent here. But if they were in the East, that man, they might sneak in like next season. I don't know, as like a fringe playoff team.
We'll see what happens with Bailey. That's going to be the big thing.
That's the main thing, is what happens with Bailey. But they've got some fun stuff here. So I mean, that could. And they've also still got Lowry, who was killing it this summer.
I predict if Lowry keeps playing the way that he did over the summer, I predict he will not be on the Jazz at the end of this year.
I mean, you've got to sell high if you're the Jazz,
he's 28. Right? He's a little bit too old. So you got to sell if you can get value on him.
And this is where, like, you're the Jazz, you start the season, just play your best players, best rotation, get Lowry looking as like a 26 point per game all-star type guy, and then you sell high at the deadline. I think if you're the Jazz, you got if he's able to do that, I think you do it. But yeah, this could be a situation where that's kind of happening here, where they want to figure out what they have. But the real thing is they've got, as I heard about 10 times yesterday, optionality to decide what they want to do.
That is the drinking game of death now, Donnie.
Yeah.
The optionality drinking game.
Yeah. What did they try to say? And then he was like, actually, I don't like that word. I like optionality instead.
Yeah, I think he didn't like the word flexibility.
That's
because we make those interchangeable so often.
Yeah. So that's kind of what they have here. There's no real rush to get this done, and they can decide when we get into next offseason.
All right, we'll see. Obviously, the Jazz do have that optionality there, but I think he's a name to keep an eye on this season. Sure. And then heading into the trade deadline, if the Jazz are protected by restricted free agency, so they don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. But if they wind up in a situation where they say, you know what, if he's going to cost $20+ million per season, maybe if they decide we don't want to be the team to pay him that money, Walker Kessler could be a name to keep an eye on the trade
market.
Need
realistic ask price those too, because last year they didn't want to take like 2 firsts apparently, or they were looking for like 2 firsts plus more, things like that. Like they may need
that they want Austin Reeves and 2 firsts for him.
Hey man, they love Austin out there in Utah.
I mean, wouldn't the same be true of Walker Kessler and Dalton
true.
Connect?
Well,
and
yeah.
Kyle Filipowski?
I was gonna say they got Filipowski. They love him out there. Hey, Austin would light it up in Utah, though.
Just send all your white guys to Utah. How pissed was Danny Ainge when he found out that Luka Doncic was going to the Lakers?
Oh, you know he's salty about that. No, send him to LA because LA is quietly put together an all white or all white lineup.
Well, that's what's going to make a Lakers Jazz trade. It's going to happen now because Danny Ainge is going, yeah, give us those guys. Oh my God. We've gone off the rails. Dalton Connect to the Jazz. You know it's coming.
Kevin Love, that's why he didn't get bought out either.
Oh no. Oh, he probably still will. At some point. At some point. Okay. So the Utah Jazz could certainly wind up making some kind of a move here with Walker Kessler. One trade that we saw happen last season and then get rescinded was the Mark Williams trade. This is the theme of this episode, apparently, is centers. But he got traded to the Lakers, and then that trade got rescinded. Well, Mark Williams just had some comments. He now wants revenge for that trade. He is not happy that trade got rescinded, and he wants to make them regret that decision every time he steps on the floor. And by them, of course, I'm talking about now the Charlotte Hornets are the team that Mark Williams is mad at. Once you traded me the first time, it was only a matter of time before I was gone. I just plan on making them regret that decision every time I step on the floor, Mark Williams said.
Oh, there's low-hanging fruit here, man. There's some super low-hanging fruit.
What is that?
Is he actually going to be on the floor? That's super low-hanging fruit.
That's been the problem with him, has been his injury history. Man. And part of the problem, the entire reason why the trade got rescinded, depending on who you believe, right?
That is the biggest problem.
Was why that trade got rescinded. So now he's a Phoenix Sun. They have too many centers, arguably, in Phoenix now. You've got Nick Richards, you've got Kaman Maluach, who they were able to get in the draft. That was part of the Kevin Durant trade. And they also have Oso Ighodaro, who's a really intriguing young big too. So maybe too many centers there. But Mark Williams saying, hey, once you traded me the first time, it was only a matter of time before I was gone. So that means that even Mark Williams wasn't buying that press release that the Hornets put out about how much they loved that they got Mark Williams back and how much better their team is with them once that trade got rescinded.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay him because of one reason or another, they didn't want to pay him. And so they were obviously trying to ship him out. And they said, oh, the Lakers didn't want him. Basically, we love him here and we're happy to have him back. But at the first availability, they decided to ship him off. And, you know, I want to say that I think Mark is great. I mean, last year he played 27 minutes, had 15, 10, 2.5 assists, a block, almost a steal, a 60% field goal shooter. Like he's really good at what he does. The problem is that over the last few years, he's only played in 106 games total in the last 3 seasons, 43 and 22-23, 19 and 23-24, and 44 last season. So that is the big problem with this guy is he's just never on the court for one reason or another. And that's why I said that's a pretty low hanging fruit. But if he gets out there, I do believe him because it's certainly within the realm of possibility. He's certainly talented enough to do it.
Yeah, I mean he can punish the Hornets whenever the Suns play them, and you know it's actions is not words. The Hornets traded him, then issued this statement, said we're excited to welcome Mark back after that trade got rescinded. After the other team aggressively pursued him, we made the difficult decision. We really didn't want to. We really didn't want to move him, but the other team, damn them, they made us. They were so aggressive. They made us move him. We've always held great respect for Mark's talent, work ethic, and character. We're thrilled to see him rejoin the roster as a dynamic presence on the starting center. He strengthens our team. We look forward to the impact he will make. And then, boom, as soon as they can, they traded him again. Yeah, Mark Williams a little bit annoyed by all that.
Yeah, this I know that there was a lot of bad press around, and that's probably why this came out. But in hindsight, I don't know if they even needed to put something like this out. But yeah, I think that's mostly why is they had to get their side of the story out there on this because this just doesn't. You knew you were going to trade him. He knew you were going to trade him, as he was just saying. Like, you don't need to do all this. And then also they really tried to. They really tried to spin it. But, one way or another, it didn't wind up going through for better or worse. And I'm just happy that, you know what? I bet he tries to kill the Lakers too, because the Lakers are the ones that kind of just reneged on that deal. I'm sure he's going to try to kill the Lakers too.
He did play pretty well against the Lakers coming out of the All-Star break.
Yeah, but AD dropped a 40-20 game on him. The last game AD played before getting traded, it was a 40-20 game on Mark Williams. The last game he played as a Laker.
I'm surprised they still went through with it after seeing AD do that.
That's what I was saying. I was like, this guy just got okay. AD is like, okay, I can understand getting lit up by AD, but he just got lit up for a 40-20 or 40-something game from AD. Like that, I don't know about that, but it is.
That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. All right, everybody. We've got the NBA back. We've a number of teams have already had their media days. Most of the NBA teams, though, around the NBA, I believe 25 teams have their media day on Monday. So we're going to have a lot more stuff coming out around the league. Fingers crossed. I don't want to do a whole lot more injury updates. So stay healthy, everybody. This is getting insane. Haven't even started yet. And we've already got Tyler Hero, Scoot Henderson, Fred VanVleet, on and on, all these guys on the Grizzlies, just on and on and on.
We've got injuries too. They're not just like, oh, they sprained their ankle, they'll be out for a week. These are actually legit injuries.
Let's knock that off. Stay healthy. Can't wait for all these media days on Monday. Training camps kicking off. We'll have preseason basketball before you know it. So all of that is to say, make sure you do hit that subscribe button right here at the Basketball Bulletin. We're going to keep you up to date on everything around the NBA. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.